The shadows of power. I must tell this story with my own mouth, for it is the only way my heart can find rest. I come from a land called Nnala, a place of red earth, tall palm trees, and rivers that once flowed with songs of peace. Nnala was blessed with rich soil, but cursed with greedy hands. The people were strong, but the leaders were weak in soul. In Nnala, men in high chairs spoke of justice, but their pockets spoke louder. Teachers held chalk, but their stomachs grumbled. And the law, oh the law, was a drum beaten only by those who could pay for the sticks. I was born in a small town called Odu. My father was a palm wine tapper, and my mother sold vegetables in the market. From a young age, I loved to listen to stories under the moon. Elders spoke of our ancestors with wisdom, and I thought the world was fair, even if life was hard. But as I grew, I saw that fairness was a bird with broken wings in Nnala. Let me take you on the journey of my eyes, for I have seen the shadows of power, and they are darker than midnight. Chapter 1, The Court Without Scales. The first time I saw the face of corruption was in the court of Nnala. I was 18 then. My uncle, a simple farmer, had a land dispute with a rich man in the town. The land had been in our family for generations, but the rich man, whose name was Chief Dyke, claimed it with papers full of strange writings. When we entered the court, my heart believed justice would speak. The judge sat high, with glasses on his nose, and books behind him. The symbol of justice, a woman with scales, stood carved above his head. But I soon learned that in Nnala, the scales were tilted before a case even began. Chief Dyke came with lawyers who wore flowing black robes, and their voices were strong like thunder. My uncle's lawyer was poor, his robe faded, and his voice shook like a weak drum. Still, I thought the truth would shine. Then I saw it. Chief Dyke's boy walked up to the judge quietly and placed a small brown envelope on his table. The judge coughed, adjusted his glasses, and smiled warmly at the chief. When it was time to speak, my uncle told the truth with tears in his eyes. But truth was not enough. At the end, the judge banged his hammer and declared the land belonged to Chief Dyke. That day, my uncle wept like a child. I held his hand and asked, "Uncle, why did the judge not hear you?" He said, "My son, in Nnala, justice has no ears unless gold whispers to it." His words cut deep into me. That was the day I lost my innocence. Chapter 2, The Classroom of Hunger. After that court case, I thought maybe the sickness of corruption lived only in the courts. But when I entered the university in Nnala's capital, I found the disease had spread everywhere. The university was supposed to be the temple of knowledge, but it was a market of favors. Teachers came to class once in a while, and when they came, their words were not always about learning. Some of them sold handouts at high prices, telling us, "Without this book, you cannot pass." Others gave us questions before exams and said quietly, "Bring something for me, and I will remember your face when marking." I remember one lecturer, tall with a sharp beard, who looked at students with hungry eyes. For the young women, his eyes meant trouble. Some of them whispered of how he demanded special gifts in exchange for grades. One of my friends, Adise, was brilliant. She always read under the lamp until her eyes turned red. But when her results came out, she had low marks. She cried and said, "I answered every question, I swear." Later, she found out her lecturer wanted more than her answers. She refused, and so her papers were marked with cruelty. I looked at her and felt anger rising in me. I asked her, "Why not report him?" She laughed bitterly and said, "Report? To who? His friends sit in the offices. The complaint will die before it sees daylight." It was then I knew, education in Nnala was like a locked room, and the key was not hard work, but bribery. Chapter 3, The Market of Politics. As I grew older, I saw another face of the shadow, politics. In Odu, elections were like festivals of lies. Politicians came with loudspeakers, dancing in the streets, throwing rice and cloths to the poor. They promised new roads, clean water, jobs for youths, and hospitals with medicine. The people cheered, drums beat, and women sang. But as soon as the politicians won, the drums went silent. The roads remained broken, the taps stayed dry, and the hospitals were graves in disguise. One year, a man named Governor Obis rose to power. He was young, handsome, and spoke with charm. He promised to fight corruption. He promised to build schools, to pay teachers, to give farmers fertilizer. The people believed him. I too believed him. But months later, he built a mansion on the hill, with golden gates and cars that shone like mirrors. Meanwhile, the teachers went on strike, and children roamed the streets instead of classrooms. When people asked questions, he said, development takes time. But his own wealth grew faster than yam in the rainy season. During his second year, journalists revealed that funds meant for building hospitals were missing. They said the money had been swallowed. The government's mouth replied, a snake carried the money. I laughed and cried at the same time. In Nnala, even snakes were accused of theft. That was when I knew politics was the biggest market in Nnala, where promises were sold cheap and power was bought with lies. Chapter 4, The Streets of Broken Souls. But it was not only the leaders. Corruption had entered the hearts of ordinary people too. On the streets, policemen stopped buses, asking drivers for something small before allowing them to pass. Without that, even a driver with all his papers would wait under the sun. At the hospitals, nurses turned patients away unless they settled them. Many poor ones went back home and died in silence. Even in the churches, some men of God began to trade blessings like goods in the market. They told the poor to sow seeds of money, while their own children studied abroad with those offerings. The society had become a river of broken souls. Everybody complained, but when their own chance came, they dipped their hands into the same water. Chapter 5, My Awakening. I carried all these wounds in my heart until one day I could not stay silent anymore. I was 25 then, and working as a teacher in a secondary school. The school was in ruins, broken chairs, leaking roofs, no chalk, no books. The government sent money for repairs, but the headmaster, a man with a fat stomach, swallowed it. Every day, children sat on the floor. Some walked miles without shoes just to learn. I could not bear it. I gathered the parents and told them the truth. The money for your children's school has been eaten. If we keep quiet, our children will pay the price forever. Some were afraid, but others nodded. Together, we marched to the local council office. The headmaster tried to silence us, but the people shouted louder. At last, he was removed. That small victory lit a fire in me. I began to speak out more. I told stories in the market, in the streets, under the moon, reminding people that corruption was a thief of our future. Some mocked me, saying, "Can one broom sweep the whole compound?" But I told them, if one broom rises, another will join, and soon the compound will be clean. Chapter 6, The Price of Truth. But speaking the truth in Nnala was not easy. Those in power did not like it. One evening, as I walked home, two men followed me. They warned me softly, "Young man, keep your mouth shut if you love your life." Fear entered me, but courage stood taller. I said to myself, if I keep quiet, then I too become part of the silence that feeds corruption. So I continued. I spoke in gatherings, in schools, in the market. I used stories, proverbs, and songs. Children listened, women listened, even old men listened. Slowly, people began to open their eyes. The powerful still tried to silence me, but they could not silence the wind. My words traveled from mouth to mouth, and soon many voices rose together. Chapter 7, The Dawn of Hope. One day, I was invited to speak in the capital city. A hall was filled with students, farmers, traders, and workers. I told them my story, the story I have now told you. I spoke of the court without scales, the classroom of hunger, the market of politics, and the streets of broken souls. When I finished, the hall was silent. Then slowly, one by one, people began to clap. Some had tears in their eyes. An old man stood and said, "My son, you have reminded us that the shadows of power cannot last forever. The dawn will come, if we choose to light our own lamps." In that moment, I saw hope in the faces of the people. It was small, but it was real. Epilogue, the story continues. Now, as I sit under the same moon that watched me grow, I tell you this tale. Nnala is still wounded, but its people are not blind anymore. The shadows of power still hover, but the lamps of truth are being lit one by one. I do not know how long it will take, but I believe the day will come when justice will have ears again, when classrooms will reward hard work, when politics will serve the people, and when society will be clean of the rot that eats it. Until then, I will keep telling this story. For in Nnala, stories are not just words, they are seeds. And one day, those seeds will grow into a forest of change. Like and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments section what you feel about politics and government.